All right, how's it going, everybody? So it was brought to my attention that I didn't go into a very detailed explanation of how to change the spark plugs on this. So what I'm going to do is basically how to change the air filter, which is pretty much all the same steps. There's just going to be a few extra, and I'll explain those few extra when I get to that point. For right now, let's start on pulling the seat and the tank off, and we'll kind of go from there. Tools needed for this job is a magnet. This one, if y'all saw my last video, this has got a light on the end of it. Is it on? Is it working? No. It's got a light on the end of it. This is the only one that they had. They make one that's just a little steel handle. It's got a piece of copper coming out of it with a little magnet on the end of it. That would work perfectly fine. This one's got the light on it. It kind of makes it a little easier, I guess. You'll need, if you're doing the spark plugs, a 5/8 inch socket, a 3/8 inch wobble. I used a 6-inch extension, a 3-inch extension, a 1/2 inch or a 3/8 inch ratchet. You will need a 12mm socket, a 10mm socket, a 5mm Allen head socket, and then a Phillips head screwdriver. It may also help to have a pair of pliers. I needed pliers to pull the fuel line off of the petcock. The little hose clamp, you can actually squeeze them with your finger, but it may help with the pliers. But you may or may not need pliers. There is a 12mm bolt here. There's a 12mm bolt here. And there's supposed to be a 12mm bolt here. My threads are stripped out, and so the screw doesn't stay in there. I just haven't re-threaded that yet to put another bolt into it. So let's get this seat off, and we'll go to the next step. Alright, now that the seat's off, we're going to take this bolt here out. This bolt right here is a 12mm Allen. Alright, next thing we're going to want to do is make sure that your petcock is turned to the off position. And then we're going to want to undo this fuel line. I don't know if y'all can see it real well, but it attaches right here. I suggest putting a rag underneath right here, just so that way it catches any excessive fuel, because I guarantee you will have some spillage. And then just lift up on the tank, wiggle it, and slide it to the back. There we go. This tank's got a full tank of gas in it. I recommend doing this without gas in the tank. Try to get it as low as you can. You have this vent tube right here. That vent tube runs down underneath here, and it just hangs down to right here, and it just allows ventilation. There is a Phillips head screw right here, and there's one right here. Undo those two, then we'll pull these little side pieces off. Now with those pulled off, there is a Phillips head screw right here, and get over here. There's a Phillips head screw right here. We need to pull those off. Alright, now with those unscrewed, this piece right here, you're going to slide it out. Goes in there like that. And then this piece here, you just slide it straight out and it comes up through the frame. Next is, there's a screw here and here. There's a screw here and here. There, and then there's one there and one there. These two and these two are short screws. I'll show them to you when we pull them out. Those go in the front, and then these screws back here are actually a longer screw, and they go down here into this piece. So I'll show you those when I get them out. There's the short screw. See how it's got that shoulder on it? The two screws that go up here, they don't have a shoulder on them. You can see the difference. See how it's the longer screw right there? This screw here has this vent that hangs onto it. If you pull that back, you can just undo that vent, and then we'll remove this screw. And then pull this up as one piece. Remember, this goes here to center. Alright, from there, this piece here, you'll have your air filter, and this top piece will come out in one unit, just like so. And there it is. There's your air filter. Then you can pull that out and do whatever you need to with it. In my last video, I was asked why I didn't replace it when I'd done the spark plugs. One, it's because it's K&N, it's a reusable air filter, and two, it's actually pretty clean. This right here, a little bit of dirt, but it's just here on the surface. It's not actually down in there. So that's why I didn't change it. So from there, if all you're doing is changing the air filter, you're good. You can stop and then, put everything back on in the reverse procedure. Now, if you're going deeper into the engine and replacing spark plugs or anything like that, there's a few extra steps here. Next, there is one screw here. There's a screw inside of here, and then there's one inside of this little piece here. Let me see if I can set the mic up so you get some light on it. You can see it. Inside this little cup right here, there's a Phillips head screw there, there's one there, and then there's one in there. rear bolt right here. Those need to come out. Last step before you can pull this off is this breather tube right here needs to come off. This clamp, I don't know how well I can show y'all. If I can get out of y'all's light here. This clamp is a squeeze clamp. You can squeeze it and it'll slide on you. And what I do is, as I'm pulling this out, you can actually just push forward right here and it'll pop out. And then this, carefully, you can twist that, and that'll come right out eventually. Here we go. There we go. And that's that. Now from there, you have access to this plug here. You'll need a swivel to get onto this plug here because you obviously can't go straight into it. This one here you can. And then you've got all the room that you need for these two front plugs. So change out those plugs. Your wires, they connect right here on the front, so it's just this little cord, and then on the back they connect right here and then just run up to the front two cylinders right here. So everything is just right here, easy to access. Now at that point, the only thing left to do is put it back together. So we'll put this back in here. Take your time, be patient. It will go. Don't rush it. Don't want to break anything. Shouldn't have to be too forceful with it. Slide that back into that breather tube there. And then that just sets down square like that. Now these front three screws, I actually do not pull them out because you can't just reach in and grab them. And as long as this isn't tipped over, it's not going anywhere. So I put these three screws in first. It's a Phillips head screw. I mean, you're not going to get a whole lot of torque out of it. They don't have to be super tight. Just, you know, good and snug. Then I take my two 10mm screws, and I don't torque these down yet. I actually just put them in, just thread them in there, and then I come back to those, and I'll explain why here in just a second. The air filter comes in. There we go. Alright, now from there, take your long screws. Don't forget this one with this piece goes here. this one, that one, that one, and that one. Your short screws with the shoulder on them go up here in the front. One goes there, one goes there. Same thing on the other side. And then from here, same thing, screw them down. They don't have to be super, super tight, just get them good and snug. Now, the reason I don't torque these down yet is because this still can move. I want to make sure that this is not stopping this. I want to make sure that these screws pull this down tight so I can then tighten this down. So I'll tighten these down after I tighten down these screws. Now we can tighten these down. Now this piece here has this groove that's in it. It actually, there's a groove down in here, or a piece down in here that groove, sets into that groove. Just set it down and just slide it back. This piece, once again, the screw holes go up, and this piece just locks that in place. We'll just slide that in there. And then just our regular Phillips head screws. Now we'll put our vent tube back on there and just wrap that around. Make sure we put our spring clamp back up on top of the on this breather tube here. This piece here, this tab goes underneath this. Hard to do with one hand. That tab goes underneath there and just goes into right there. We'll put in our screw. Two things. One, see the purple? This bike used to be purple. There's purple on other pieces, so I know this ain't just a replacement tank. This is a factory color on this bike was purple. So, this piece right here, this little tab, it hooks onto this piece right here. There's one on both sides. And it's really hard to not line it up. I mean, it's, it kind of just lines up on its own almost. There we go. this breather tube here. He said it just goes underneath here, and then it just drops down behind the underneath the seat. And then connect your fuel line back up. And then put your clamp back on. Take our 10mm Allen head screw back, put it back in place. From there, we'll take our seat. On our seat, there is this hook right here. It goes underneath this lip, and then this flat bar that's on the back of the seat. I don't know how well y'all can see that. That flat bar will actually sit down here and keep it from moving backwards. So that just keeps it completely centered there. One other thing is these little holes right here, this piece, that's where those holes, this piece goes into those holes. It may actually be easier to just pull that off and then put them on afterwards. Put this screw on. We'll pretend that I put a screw on that other side. And then on this piece back here, I don't know how this is set up. I don't know if it just sits there like this or exactly what. Mine has this little spacer. It goes underneath that, and then the screw goes into that. I don't know if that's factory or not, but that's the way mine is set up. Just pay attention to what screws come from where, and put them back where they go. And then this piece here, you got your two tabs go here, and this goes inside of that hole right there in the bottom of your seat. There's that side. So currently the video is at about 38 minutes, almost 39 minutes. Of course, you know, I've done this once before, so, you know, I'm obviously a little bit quicker. Last time I took an hour and a half, but I was also changing the spark plugs. And then I've also done it once before, so I'm a little quicker on it. But taking into account that I'm also filming, which adds a little bit of time to it. So, I mean, depending upon what you're doing, if you're replacing the air filter, you know, it's a 30-40 minute job. Replacing the spark plugs, probably about an hour and a half or so. Now I'm also a mechanic by trade, so I'm a little bit quicker in that aspect. You know, you shouldn't have any problems doing this, you know, within a couple of hours in an afternoon. So it's a pretty easy job, and yeah. Currently, the status of what it's like outside, I'll give you all a quick little glimpse, is that. Today is the annual toy drive for the Tulsa Bike Club, the Abate of Tulsa. So with that, with the weather being what it is, wasn't able to ride the motorcycle, but I still did go to the toy drive. That video will be coming up next week, so if y'all are interested in that, stay tuned. Subscribe down below, turn on that notification bell, you'll be notified of when that video goes live. Other than that, I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.